Hey folks, Steve here with another Fatal Alliances playthrough video. We are looking at what is going to be Impulse number 5 for turn 1 in the 1914 scenario. It has been quite some time since my last video for Impulse number 4. Again, it's always busy, life is busy. I attended some conventions between the last video and this one. Been involved in a couple of other hobby-related things, but I'm coming back and we're going to keep working our way through this turn. The last turn saw some pretty interesting developments for the Allies, and now the Central Powers are going to get going here. Right at the at the start of this impulse, we will need to do the weather roll, which I already rolled here as a 7. Which is fine weather everywhere, all except for the northern monsoon region. And that may end up becoming important in the not too distant future. At the end of the last video, the Commonwealth have now, drawn enough chits that on the next Allied impulse, which is going to be the Impulse 6, the one after this one, so probably the next video, will join the war, and the Japanese will begin taking action against the Germans. So this band here, North Monsoon Zone, has a storm in it for weather. So that is going to cause some grief, essentially, for any movement in and around through here, up through India, through some of Indonesia here, the Philippines, and then various islands in the Pacific. So we'll need to keep that in mind, and unfortunately in this vassal module, there is not really a great way to notate the weather, so we're just going to have to be kind of careful once the weather stuff starts to kick in that we pay attention to where everything is at. So keep that in mind. We'll try not to forget it. Real quick before I guess we get into any of the actual Central Power action, so a quick strategic review of the current state of things. So the war has begun in earnest. The only major player, not counting the United States, not in it, is the Commonwealth, but they are on the verge of joining, and so everything is sort of lining up to what is going to happen next. The Austrians have been pushing against the Serbians. The Serbians are hanging on. They've been taking some hits. They've suffered many losses. They've punched the Austrians in the face a little tiny bit, but this is still going to be a struggle to survive as this keeps going. In the Carpathians, Carpathian region, the Russians have been pushing up against the Hungarian units here. The Hungarian units set up in the mountains, and the Russians have pushed through Lemberg, captured a few minor areas. That's going to start impacting Austrian morale at the end of this turn. But made an attack into the mountains that really didn't go well, and so you have the majority of these Russian forces here flipped. A few down here are not, but it's not really enough strength to make a difference. So a lot of flipped units. I think they lost something as well, and so this whole little section of the front is pretty much shut down, which is good for the Central Powers who are going this turn. Elsewhere for the Eastern Front, the Polish sector is kind of quiet. I think at this point the Russians just want to hold on to this area here, the salient, if they can, and keep pushing into the Königsberg region, the East Prussia region of Germany, where we actually had a very strong offensive led by the Ivanov headquarters that pushed some of the units into East Prussia proper, and the Russian units are actually 1 hex away from Königsberg. Now, it's going to be very tough to take Königsberg from 1 hex, and so really what the Russians are probably going to be wanting to try to do next is collapse this hex here, move in, and then do a combined attack here and move in and start to get the odds advantage on Königsberg so they could actually feasibly take it. This is the way a lot of hex encounter games go, is that there's sort of, you want at least 3 to 1 to get the best combat odds and best combat ability against a single defender area. And so that's kind of what the Russians are going to need to do next. The Central Powers in this theater basically want to, I think, just hold on. They've got some reserves that are going to be coming up, and potentially more units to be built that are on the production chart that we'll need to decide where they're going to go. So at least at the moment, they just need to hold, and ideally try to make inroads into Poland, but it's a little touch and go. In the Western Front, things are going very well for the Germans. Perhaps the only thing that they may want to focus on is actually bringing forces in here to help keep the momentum going. We've seen Belgium basically get smacked down a good bit. Belgium has been, or is going to be, conquered at the end of the turn, more than likely. And then even down in here, the French have suffered some pretty significant losses and had a lot of units flipped down here until the Joffre headquarters moved down and managed to get some morale going and unflip the units. But these units still have a lot to deal with here in terms of the forces arrayed against them as well. So, it's likely we're going to see the Germans try to make some headway and smash this stack here, potentially continue to move into the French forces down here. By comparison, the French are hanging on, doing what they can. They know that the Commonwealth is going to join here very shortly, and it's going to mean that some units are going to get moved into likely Calais would be the goal. We'll see what else is going to happen from that standpoint. And we are actually at a kind of difficult decision point for our good friends, the Germans. So if we look at the sequence of play, we determined weather, and now we're going to look through here. Are we going to declare any wars? Well, I don't actually think that there are any places that it would be worth declaring war on at this point. The reality is that even if we did, those miners, if we declared war on a miner, would just, like say we declared war on the Netherlands, all that would really do is put more units and extend our front. We really don't want to do that. At least not yet, anyhow. So let's see. Major powers, declaring war. Nothing for the U.S. entry right now. Yeah, so I think now we're down to selecting actions, and here's where it's going to be kind of interesting. So, as the Central Powers right now, we are Germany and Austria-Hungary. Eventually, we would like, probably, the Ottomans to join us here. Here, just their starting units scattered about. But we would like to get them into the war, probably, so that we have some more pressure against the British. And the British actually have a pretty strong set of forces here in Egypt because they would like to defend the Suez Canal. So you can see there's actually quite a number of units here that are quite strong. So applying pressure would be nice, and then also if we are able to move units against Russia, that would force the Russians to peel units off of the main front down here to cover their resource bases of Tiflis and Baku, which is on the world map here in the Azerbaijan region. So, oh, and while we're at it, someone pointed out that I did make a mistake. I railed these units to cars, but that is not a railroad. The railroad stops in this hex, and the rest of this is a road. And I think when we were playing last time, I was just sort of trying to keep moving, and I missed it, and so let's see, if I wanted them to be in and around cars, 1, 2... I guess I'll move them to Tiflis, and then they can just come on down this way later. So this is a correction from last turn. The Russians should not have been able to rail to cars, so I'm just going to rail them to Tiflis instead and call it good, and we'll keep moving. So to get the Ottomans in, we want to be shifting them eventually on the political chart, and they start here providing rail supply and rebase access, which is nice. We'd like them to get up to 15 to join the Central Powers, and we'll get into the politics and how you move all of these counters in a later video when we get to that end turn phase and we process all of that. But we can do some things now to impact the joining of the Ottomans and provide some bonuses, and they're all sort of the actions that we could take are all based sort of on history. So there's a couple of things going on to take note of, and if you want to look at this in the rules, go to page I think it's 22 of the PDF of the latest rules, and you'll see that they're talking all about Commonwealth and U.S. entry actions. But if you look at the second column, there's OE1, OE2. So there are 2 Ottoman battleships that should have been on the production spiral. I maybe had missed them as part of setup. Let me double check. Yeah, boy, if I would set up wrong, that's a bummer. Added September, October, Osman. Okay, and that's probably down here somewhere. Yeah, here it is. So these should be technically like here. And I'm representing this looking at OE1. So the Commonwealth will have an option, and they'll probably do it, next turn. The CW can remove 2 Ottoman battleships under construction or replace them with the Aran and Agincourt. For the Commonwealth, this action must be performed before the ships are complete. If you do this, shift the Ottoman Empire towards the Central Powers. And so, here it is, the Agincourt and the Aran. So, if the Commonwealth does nothing, then the Ottoman Empire is going to get this ship, and I suppose if the Ottomans don't become activated by September, October, when this would be built, that it just will be included in their setup. Um, but the Commonwealth can instead say, well, now we're going to get the unit instead, and that the Osman and the Rashadai, not sure if that's how it's pronounced, it's probably not, become the Aran and the Agincourt, because essentially these were battleships that the Commonwealth were building for the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire was paying for it. But instead, the Commonwealth can say, no, we need these warships for war, our war that we're fighting right now, and just keep them. And it even looks like they get a slightly better armor rating out of that. But doing so is obviously a betrayal by the Ottomans, and that will increase their desire to join the Central Powers. The other thing that can be done is the OE2 flight of the Guben in Breslau. So, if the Guben in Breslau is in any Ottoman port, while the Ottoman Empire is neutral, the German player can replace it with the Yavuz Medili. If you do this, shift the Ottoman Empire 2 spaces toward the Central Powers on the political chart. So, here's that unit. We did have it set up in Austria, and I think we could do that. I want to say that we could. Yeah, in Pola. Yeah, it begins here under fleet, presumably fleet basing rights with Austria, Hungary. And so what it would take to get there, so you want to move it to a Ottoman port. Technically, the closest one is Corfu. So that's really easy, right? 1, 2. Alternatively, it would maybe be better if we did 1. Technically, that's part of the Central Mediterranean, so that's 1, 2, 3, and put it into Gallipoli, which would still satisfy that, and then it's closer to be with the other Ottoman ships that are going to be sort of based in and around the Black Sea. But to do that, we would need to take, I believe, a combined action, because if I refer to our action charts, if I can find it. So let's say I'm Germany. I took a combined action. I can get 2 naval moves, which, hey, I mean, that's great. If we did a land action, which would be, typical of the Germans to do and is really great and everything, we wouldn't actually get a naval move at all. So it's a sort of a decision, right? We have, for the Germans anyway, a great situation where we are pounding the French, and we could continue pounding the French. Or we could take a combined action, still do some fighting, but get this battleship to the Ottomans. Now, you might ask, why do it so soon? The Commonwealth's not in yet. Does it really matter right now to do that? Well, if I can give this ship to the Ottomans now, and we get our points, there is less of a chance that we are going to have to deal with, we'll say, Commonwealth disruption. So, if we moved it here, we're safe. If we moved it then here, cool, no big deal. If we moved out here instead with that move, these ships are not out in the Central Mediterranean yet, so it's not like they're out there waiting for us to intercept us, and then from there we can come here again, These ships aren't necessarily out here yet, and then we could run it into Kalibaloo. Better than better to do that now than to wait for the Commonwealth, who might put all of these their battleships and their cruisers out to sea, where all of a sudden now there's a lot more obstacles to get that ship into the Ottoman port. What are we giving up if we do that? Well, if we do a combined, we get 6 land moves, which that's actually a fair bit, all things considered. Would certainly be enough to do the majority of what we cared about. And we would get 2 land attacks, which, I mean, that's not so bad. But we would only get 3 land, or we'd get 3 ground strikes. But those ground strikes are air-based, I guess, for limits, so it might not really matter. Well, tough call. I think we will have Germany do a combined action, and we'll have Austria-Hungary do Hmm. Hmm. I guess they'll do a land action. I mean, I don't think there's a whole lot more they can really do, but might as well just do a land action. The only other thing would be, if we did a combined for Austria-Hungary, we could move the Austria-Hungary fleet into the central Mediterranean, and that would certainly cause some problems for somebody. Only trick is, there are... Yeah, Italy's not in the game yet, so I'm not sure that those mines actually matter. I better look that up. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure if the minefields matter for Italy yet because they're not in the war. Yeah, I don't think so. It might behoove the Austria-Hungary Navy to come out and just sort of patrol. Whether or not they could fight toe to toe with the French Navy. Yeah, I don't know. It'd be better to just patrol the Adriatic. I think they're just going to do a land action. Germany's going to do combined, and Austria-Hungary will do a land action. We'll just keep it simple and keep the game moving. So we get to naval movement. So we are going to have these guys go one, into the central Mediterranean, 2 into the Aegean, because when you go through dotted lines, it's this, you don't have to spend a movement point crossing between boundaries. So essentially, the Adriatic is a sub-sea zone of the central Mediterranean Sea, and the mines will not affect this because Italy is neutral and the Ottomans are neutral. So I believe they can just exit. So 1, 2 to the eastern Mediterranean, but what is really the Aegean Sea sub area, and then 3 to move the ship into Gallipolis. And so once that is done, let's see, what is it? It is, yeah, I think we just straight up replace it. So, here it is. Yep. This is a pretty good battleship. It's got pretty good armor in any case. So, we'll go ahead and replace it. And then, since we're not going to need this anymore, I'm just going to delete the counter. And now, we will, wrong chart. We're going to shift the Ottoman Empire 2 spaces towards the Central Powers. So, 1, 2. Now this is important. Now that the Ottoman Empire has shifted on this track to between this red line and this red line, they now provide all resources to the Central Powers, which means that the total resources here, yeah, I'm not going to count them up here, but basically they're going to provide these raw resource materials to the Central Powers, which is going to be a nice little resource benefit, at least until the Ottomans enter the war proper, at which case they'll use their own resources to produce units. But for now, it's a good, nice little boost for the Central Powers. That was one of our 2 naval moves. Would we like to do any other naval moves as Germany? Well, yeah, these guys in Danzig could go do something. I mean, we may need to worry about the Russian Navy at some point. So I think for the sake of it, I think we're going to take these guys. Leave these dudes here, and we will just have them come out to the Baltic Sea. And I believe I'm trying to look in the rules just to make sure what sea box they're going to end up in. Okay, so I want to move all these guys as a stack. So who's got the lowest movement? So if we spend one of our range and patrol leaving port, or we spend one unit of our range to move into the sea zone, then that would allow us to, let's see, yeah, range is the yellow number, movement allowance is the orange number. So we spend range, so the yellow number, to get out into the Baltic Sea, and then we're going to spend movement allowance, which is our sort of patrol rate, to determine what box we end up in, and if we spend all 3 of the remaining points for each unit, we can end up in the 3 box. Which should make it easier to find the enemy, which is what we would want to do to sort of help protect these guys. We could put them in the 0 box, I think, but I don't think it matters so much. I think it might be better just to leave them here, and then if anything comes into the Baltic Sea, we'll deal with them with the fleet. So, okay, so naval moves are done. How are we doing for time? Half an hour already, and we barely did anything. God, sorry, guys. Naval movement done. Naval combat none. Opponent's naval combat none. Strategic bombardment. The only thing we could do is strategically bombard with the Zeppelin. And I don't think it's actually in range of anything we would want to hit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9. Yeah, really not. So we won't do that. In fact, I probably will need to move up that Zeppelin because it's pretty far away. Ground strike missions. Okay. Flipped. No ground strikes here. No ground strikes up here. I don't believe we're going to be able to do any ground strikes here. So the question is, do we want a ground strike up here? And I think we do. Yeah, I think we do. I think we want to try to ground strike with Big Bertha. Yeah, for sure we do. So I'm going to flip Big Bertha. And we will fire here. So each unit, if it rolls a 5 or under, gets flipped. So we'll just go, this core is flipped. At least I believe it is. Let me make sure if it's less than or equal to. So I believe it is equal to. We'll count. Let's see. Less than or equal to, yes, okay. So, flipped. Now this unit, not flipped. And then this unit is flipped. Okay, so all that work from Joffre, and these guys are back to more or less where they started. That's funny. I don't think we can really do any other that we might truly well and care about. So, yeah, I think that's it. Okay. So then, yeah, boy, that's it. That sucks. At least, Joffre did that to unflip them, but it cost, instead of that 5 being used to attack, I had to flip the artillery to do the ground strikes, so it's sort of, spending resources, whatever. Rail movement. I don't think there's any rail movement we want to use. Yeah, I think we're fine. Land movement. I'm going to have Moltke move up to Liège This will keep everybody well in supply. Um, mm, I kind of want to move somebody up to grab this resource. So if these British come over, that's going to be basically 9 versus... Yeah, I can make that work. Um, so I'm going to move these guys up. I'm going to move this guy up. And then these remainder are still flipped. So then this is going to... As soon as I find my notes. Let's see, we took Liège factory and resource. That's the here. And Brussels factory. Also take Eastern French. So I did not take this one yet. Okay. So turn 1, impulse 5. Germany takes, we'll call it the West Belgium resource. Yeah, excellent. Okay. And that doesn't impact any French morale or anything, but we're going to move them up. I'm expecting the British are going to end up here in Ostend, but I think I'm okay with that. They might try to attack this unit, but I think we'll be okay. Yeah, I think we'll be okay. Then down here, I can't really move with a lot of these guys. I can move with these, and I really should. So they'll move up to here. Help close up that gap. And I think that's it over there. Now any land movement over here. There's not a whole lot we can actually do. That guy, let's see. I can move this guy up a little bit. Yeah, that might, yeah, this could be a good attack right here. And then these guys will move up as well. And let's see. You. That's not good. I'm a little nervous about Königsberg itself. And unfortunately, they're flipped and can't move. Yeah. I think I'm going to have this engineer division move into Königsberg and help defend it. I'm just a little afraid of that. And like this unit, 7, this guy's fine by himself, at least for the time being. Everything else will have to just work itself out. Okay. Land movement's done. Debark land units at sea. Don't need to do that. Any invasions? No. Land combat. Alright. So, let's figure out, just, you know, in counterclockwise like we've been doing, we'll start with the Serbians, we'll go through the Russian front, and then we'll end up back on the really crazy action of the Western Front. Might still make this video about an hour if we move quick. So, those guys are flipped, can't attack. Those guys are mostly flipped and probably are not going to be able to attack. These guys, yeah, that's tough. I don't think... Yeah, see, this is kind of tough. There's not really... It's kind of congested, to be honest. It's like I've got too many guys here, and I really should have... Well, I can always move them. Okay. I can see what we can do with these guys. They're a little out of the way, but this guy is going to move up here. They're all sort of tied up, and that's fine for the moment. These guys are going to flank around, so 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can kind of see what I'm doing. I think we're going to have them try to either swing up around this way and help, or we could even have them attempt a really crazy stomp down here, but they'd be out of supply pretty quick. So I think we'll instead have them move through here. So that's going to work. So an adjustment to before land combat, a few more land moves. Apologies for that, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. And yeah, I think that's all. I think that's all we'll do for now. I just know that, like, the Austrians don't have that many offensive points, so they can't really afford to be spending a lot right now on anything like unflipping units. It's going to be slow going here, but I think we'll be okay. If we can just get here, we'd be able to cut off supply. Yeah, I think we'll be okay. Any attacks here? So 6 to 4, not really great odds. 3 to 2 is not great. +3 to the die roll, and yeah, no, that would be bad. What's the combat strength here? 8. So we would do 9 to 8 is 1 to 1, so +2. But then the disrupted units. That actually. Yeah, it's not. Nah, it's a little too dicey. We don't want to give up the Carpathians. We could attack here, but if we failed. Well, let's think about this for a second. 9 against 8. 9 against 8 is 1 to 1, so that's +2. There are 2 disrupted core here. So that would be a +4, so +6 then. And it's unobserved, so it'd be +5. Average die roll would only be maybe a 10, 11, or 12, and a +5 would be at best 1 to 1 odds. Yeah, not worth it. Not worth it at all. That's not even worth it. I mean, it's just like, it would be great to take out this headquarters unit, but the odds needed to get it would be very difficult. So it'd only be this core. So 3 to 4 is, I think, just 1 to 1 odds. So +2 to be +4. And yeah, no, it's just not worth it. It's just not worth the attack. So we won't do anything there. Here. Well, we could do a 5, 11, 16, and 7. Not good enough. Not good enough that what I would want anyway. But I think something here might be able to work, because then if we take out this head unit, then we could get even better odds. So let's see about this guy. The balloon's going to be out of range. That's out of range. There's nothing there to help. This guy could maybe provide a die roll modifier as a HQ bonus. I have to look that up real quick. HQ support. HQ support. Okay, so Udenich could actually support, but let's just see. 5, 10, 16 to 3. So 16 to 3 is 5 to 1 odds. That's plus 10. We would go unobserved, so plus 9, and then subtract the reorganization value of the larger and divide by 2. Okay, I'm just trying to make sure, like, what is Udenich's bonus going to be? So it would be subtract the smaller from so 3 divided by 2 is 1.5, rounded up to 2. Okay. So it'd be a plus 7. If I rolled terrible, then that would be very bad. But at the same time, okay, I think it's worth it. I think we're gonna do that. So I'm just gonna throw a combat marker down. It's in here somewhere. Okay, we'll just use a strat bombing mark. So we're going to attack here. Because if Udenich provides support, he flips. So that's going to slow down. You need to attack to keep them from attacking. That's the way I'm going to view this. 4 and this 10. No, won't be worth attacking there. And let's see. Could attack with the engineer. 7, 8, 9. Yeah, I don't think anything's going to be happening there. 8, 9, 10. I don't think that's going to be worth it. So 6, 8, 8 to 8 is plus 2. Unobserved. Well, I guess I could observe. Plus 2, plus 6. So I could attack here. That'd be interesting. So what I'm looking at, so this is going to be combat power of 8 versus 8. So 1 to 1 is a plus 2. Then, because there's 2 disrupted core, that's a plus 4 more, so that's plus 6. Then, minus 1 for being unobserved. That's plus 5. And that's just not very good. I mean, it could be alright if I rolled well, but just plus 5 just isn't enough. So I don't think I'm going to do any more attacks. It's really unfortunate, but that's as good as it's going to get. Okay. Keep moving here. Let's see. could have... Yeah, see, I didn't ooze this guy down. Maybe I should have done that, right? Like, what were we saying before? I'd ooze down, I'd ooze down. He'd still be in supply to Mets because of this guy, and then they could just utterly annihilate this guy here. Yeah, I think that's would have been the better thing to do. So that, yeah, I'll just say that that's how we moved because that's, I think, what I originally intended at the end of the last video. Anyway, yeah, I think that's going to work. Okay, so against these guys. So the defense 5, 9, 12. But we would attack with 8. Plus 10 is 18. 21. 27. 27 plus 7. 34. It's not quite 3-to-1 odds. Is there anything else I can get points out of? Probably not. Um, hmm. Let's do fractional. 34 divided by 12 is 2.8. 2.8, which would be, go away, 2.8 times 2 for the bonus. Minus 1 plus 3. That'd be plus 7 plus 8. And if I just did that, it'd be 7, 6, 13 against 5. So 2, 1. I just don't like. I'm just careful of like opening up a line. I just don't know. All right, I'm wasting enough of your time watching me fuddle around. This is it. I'm just gonna do this. This is what I moved. I thought it was fine. It will be fine. Um, so if that's 12, then I would only have 7, 10, 20, 28. This would be 28 to 12. 28 divided by 12 times 2 minus 1, 3.6. It'd be 5. That's not great. That's not great. It's just not great, man. Ugh, come on. Well, that's fine. Yeah, think that's just gonna have to do. I don't. How many attacks do we even get? We don't even get that many attacks. What am I? What am I even doing? What am I even doing? I'm sorry, guys. What am I even doing? I probably moved too many times as well. 6 land moves. What's a land move considered? If you move one stack of land units together, each unit in the stack uses up 1 land move. Okay, so I moved 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which means I may not have been able to do some moves down here. So that would have been 6. And then that's it. So I technically could not have moved this engineer unit. Ay. I'm sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. See, this is why, playing by yourself, you're going to make a lot of mistakes because you don't have an opponent there trying to catch you making, moves that you shouldn't be making. But I think this worked out okay. These guys moved. We get 2 land attacks, but I just don't think I have, unless I was trying to do something with that oozing down here, I just don't think it's worth it. I think I've got enough pressure being applied, so that's it. We're just going to do 1 attack. I think that's as good as it's going to get for right now. Knowing what we have, that's what we got to do. Okay, so we're gonna do this combat, and we're gonna try to finish up this video as swiftly as we can after that, because once combat's over, we'll do air bases. That's going to be done very, very quickly, and then we'll do some reorganization. That will happen very quickly, and that'll be the end of this video. Okay, so we're going to make the attack here. So 5, 10, 16. So we'll just do that. 16 attack against 3. Right, 5, 10, 5, 10, 16 against 3. That by itself, 10 to 3, is 3 to 1 odds. So that's plus 6. Then Udenich is going to provide HQ support, which is going to take 2 off, I think. Yeah, let's see, 5, 10, 16 against 3. Yeah, 5. Yeah, okay. I'm screwing up. I'm screwing up. Oh, it's been too long. It's been too long of a day, guys. I'm telling you. Why am I doing this Friday evening? Why would I do that? All right. So, all right. It's 16 to 3, right? That's actually 5 to 1 odds. 5 to 1 odds is a plus 10. Okay? Plus 10. That's what I said earlier. Unobserved would make that a plus 9, and then with the HQ support, which, I might now decide I'm not going to bother with the support, but, what's it worth it to me? If I give the support, then it makes it only a plus 7. Which, if he rolls poorly, or even if he rolls, kind of average, yeah, I mean it's worth it. I don't think we were going to be doing any major attacks here anyway. The attacks are going up here from Ivanov, so Yeah, oh boy, and I think if Ivanov did an offensive, he may have needed to be flipped, but I'll worry about that. I'll worry about that later. It's not relevant now. Anyway, Udenich is going to flip, and he's going to provide HQ benefit here. So now that becomes a +7. And now we're going to roll. We're going to find out what happens. Ah! Okay, so we didn't actually roll that well. We rolled an 18. We rolled an 18. So, 18 is a 0.5 to 1. So, the 1 is destroyed. No bonus build point because Poland is not home country. The 1 will be lost. We'll just throw it up here. And it won't get a bonus point because divisions that are destroyed don't do that. It's not a significant victory. And now all the other attacking units have to flip. So, who is the real winner there? I honestly couldn't tell you. It's a little too close. But, you know, it slowed down the Germans. Now they can't push forward with a bunch of units because they're flipped. The HQ unit for the Russians now is in some peril, so it's going to have to kind of extricate itself. And this may mean that the Russians are going to have to pull back a little bit. So, in general, maybe an okay thing for the Germans. I'm going to have to look at the last video to see if I did something to make Ivanov not flip last turn. I think he needs to be flipped. I'm going to have to double check that in the last video and see if I had somehow done something to bring him back, but let me see. Well, I'll worry about it later. Okay, so land combat's done. Would I like to do any reorganization? And I think I want to. I think I do want to. And there's a couple of reasons why. I need to make sure that the Western Front is going to stay strong. So I will be willing to flip some of my guys in order to do that. So let's see. I always have to look up the rules for reorganizing because it's not always super clear how many points it is. I think it's just their what do you call it? Their reorganization value and not doubled or anything, but I want to make sure of that before I go and make a mistake. And of course now I can't find it. You gotta be kidding me. Okay. So let's see. Okay, never mind. I'm not going to reorg here. I don't think it's worth reorging. Well, hmm. No, I'm not going to reorg him. But I will reorg. I will flip Molke so that these guys are reorged. And this guy is reorged. And that way we have what is going to essentially be a pretty consistent line here. Yeah, that's good. Okay, reorganization is done. And we did everything that we could conceivably do, I think, as well as we could have hoped to do it in. So, yeah, we will go ahead and we will roll to see if the action changes. Well, it's a -1, so it's impossible. So we'll move on to Allied Impulse, Impulse 6 in the next video. Overall, not a crazy exciting turn. We are getting to the point where you're going to notice there's a lot of units that are flipped that don't have a lot to do, and so these next couple of impulses are going to go by much more quickly because there's not going to be as much to do. But we'll see kind of how it goes. Probably one thing I should have done is spent some more offensive points to restore some of the. I should have done this. I should have. I should reorg this HQ unit. I think it's going to be worthwhile to do that. And technically I would have announced that at the end of my last turn, but I think this is fine. So I would be spending 4 to bring Bulow back up. So I will spend 4. So I have 26 now. Leave me to have 22. And that at least gives us some more room to work with in the things that we would like to be able to do. And I didn't use Ruprecht to restore these guys because they'll do fine 1v1 against these core here. But if this guy, if the HQ is flipped, that could spell some big trouble when these guys combine attack here. So just trying to watch the odds. Okay. Well, I think that does it here for this impulse. Again, we're going to be looking at impulse 6 in the next video, where the Allies get back control and the Commonwealth is going to finally enter the fray and things get a little more intense. So we will look to pick up there. Thank you for watching again, and we will catch you next time. Take care. And again, if you like my videos, hit the like button, subscribe. We'll be doing more of these. Appreciate it if you're a normal watcher and you're making it through all these videos. I know there's a few of you out there. I really do appreciate your views and your support. We'll catch you next time.